Hello everyone, welcome to part 4 of our Surds topic. Now today we don't actually have any theory notes as such, we're just going to be jumping straight into some examples. And our examples are on multiplication and division. The reason we don't have any notes as such is because we can use the rules that we've already seen earlier in the topic. Okay, now just refreshing what those rules are. Okay, we've got that the square root of x times the square root of y, well, that's the same as the square root of xy. And same with division. We've got the square root of x and we divide by the square root of y. That's the same as them all under the one square root. Okay, so we're going to use those rules to help us with our examples. Alright, so let's start with example 1. Square root of 7 times the square root of 3. Okay, we can just put it under one square root, 7 times 3, and 7 3s are 21. Pretty easy, hey? Alright, let's have a look at our next one. For example 2, we have the square root of 96 divided by the square root of 12. Once again, let's just combine it. Okay, we're not going to worry about simplifying first. Okay, let's combine it first and work out what is 96 divided by 12. Well, that's just the square root of 8. And then now we can simplify. The square root of 8 is 2 root 2. Now, if you're not sure how we get that, I'll just go over that quickly. Remember that the square root of 8 we can break up as the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, because 4 2s are 8. But what is the square root of 4? That's just 2. Okay, so that's how we got our simplification there. Alright, example 3. Three root 2 multiplied by 5 root 2. Okay, before we start this one, let's actually go back up to our rules that we were refreshing and remember that the square root of x squared is just x. Okay, let's remember that rule. Now, going back to example 3, let's first multiply the numbers that aren't under a square root. So remember, we can rearrange multiplication in any order we want. Okay, so let's do the 3 times 5 first. That's 15. And then second, okay, we've got the square root of 2 times itself. Or we could rewrite that as the square root of 2 squared. But based on our rule back up here, okay, here, the square root of x squared is just x. So the square root of 2 squared is just 2. 15 times 2 equals 30. There's our answer for example 3. Alright, example 4. We have 6 examples, so we're halfway through. 5 root 8 multiplied by 3 root 6. Okay, once again, we're going to look at the numbers first and then the surds, or the whole numbers first and then the surds. So we're going to do the 5 times 3 first, and then we will look at the square root of 8 times the square root of 6. Alright, 5 times 3, that's 15. And we can put the 8 and the 6 together under a square root, which gives us 15 times the square root of 48. Now we need to look at the square root of 48 and simplify. Okay, so we're looking for the highest square number that goes into 48, and that is 16. 16 goes into 48 3 times, and the square root of 16 is 4. 15 times 4 is 60, and so our most simple answer is 60 root 3. Alright, 2 examples to go. Example 5. In this example, we're going to combine some multiplication and division. So we have 4 root 3 times the square root of 18. That is all over the square root of 12. Okay. Our first step here is going to be to simplify. There we go. Get rid of that. Our first step here is going to be to simplify what we can. Now 4 root 3 can't be simplified, but we can simplify the square root of 18. The highest square number that goes into 18 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3, and we're left with the root 2. So 3 root 2 is our simplified version of the square root of 18. And the square root of 12, well, we have 4 3's are 12, the square root of 4 is 2, and we're left with root 3. Okay, now just focusing on the numerator. Okay, 4 lots of 3 is 12, and we have our root 3 times root 2, which is 6, root 6. On the bottom, or the denominator, we still have 2 root 3. Okay, with our division, let's just focus on the integers first. 12 divided by 2 is 6. For the division of the surds, we're going to use our rule that we looked at back up here. Okay, this one, the division rule. And we're going to combine our root 6 over root 3 into one square root and put 6 over 3. And what is 6 divided by 3? It's 2. So there's our answer, 6 root 2. Alright, final example, example 6. The square root of 3 multiplied by 2 root 3 minus root 5. So you can see here that we're incorporating brackets. Okay, and all we need to do is expand those brackets. Okay, so we're going to expand. Our first expansion is the square root of 3 times 2 root 3. Square root of 3 times 2 root 3. And then our second is the square root of 3 times negative root 5. So minus square root of 3 times square root of 5. Alright, let's look at the first part. We have the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. So that's just going to be 3. And then we also have the 2. In the second part, we can combine them to be the square root of 3 times 5, which is 15. So our final answer is 6 minus the square root of 15. Alrighty, that's our 6 examples. Just recapping, we had no notes today because we were using these rules which we've already covered before. Okay, back in part 2. So we just looked at 6 examples where we could see how to multiply and divide surds. Thanks for listening.